And welcome to lesson 3.3. Today we are going to talk about our final rigid motion, and that is rotations. Now, rotations notation is represented with a lowercase r, the amount of degrees you are rotating, and then the point in which you are rotating around, in this case, point P. Our angle measurement, we always go in a counterclockwise fashion. So if you think about a clock, we have 12, 3, 6, 9. We have our hands on the clock. They normally go to the right. Counterclockwise then is going the opposite direction that our normal analog clock would be. So this would be counterclockwise. It's like to the left, if you want to think of it that way. So unless otherwise noted, when we talk about rotations in this class, this positive angle measure means you're rotating again to the left in a counterclockwise manner, X number of degrees. So if we see down here below, the main rotations we will be dealing with will be 90 degrees counterclockwise, 180 degrees counterclockwise, 270, and then full 360 will be back at our original measure. Notice that if we change this to be a negative amount of degrees, this is when we would be rotating clockwise. So if you're going clockwise 90 degrees, that's the same thing as going 270 degrees counterclockwise. So we will occasionally talk about that, or if you see the negative 90, that just negative means clockwise. Now notice these rules that are in place then when you're rotating 90, 180, or 270 around the origin. So that's point O stands for the origin, aka 0, 0. And when we rotate around here, we have these rules. Now these rules you will want to keep handy, you will want to use, because they are going to allow us to rotate our points. So notice for a 90-degree rotation, we flip the X and the Y values, and whatever was your Y value now is negated. 180-degree rotation, they don't flip spots, but they do just flip signs. So positives become negatives, negatives become positives. And then 270, you will flip X and Y values and then negate whatever your original X value was. So if we look here at this original, we see our original points for A, B, and C are pre-image points. And in that 90-degree rotation, again, we are switching the order. So for instance, 5 and 3 switch spots, and then the 5 becomes negative. We flip that sign. 1 and 7 switch spots, that original Y value became negative. Negative 2 and 4 switch spots, the original Y value became negative. 2 and negative 1 switch spots. And then when they do that, the negative 1 became a positive 1. So again, we see that flip there. All right, so we want to, again, use these rotation rules ourselves to be able to rotate some of these points. So we see in our original example, we have triangle XYZ, and these are our pre-image points, and we want to rotate them in this first one 180 degrees. So again, our rule, if we look up at the chart up above, is that we are going to flip the signs of the originals. So we have X originally was -4, +7, so now it's going to be +4, -7. Y was 0, 8, so it's now going to be 0, -8. Reminder to flip 0. All right, it's still 0 whether it's positive or negative. And then Z prime, we're taking our original point to -1. It's now -2, +1. Now, if we look at the 270-degree rotation, our rule for that, if we look up above, is Y, -X. So we're taking these original points, X, Y, and Z, we're flipping them, and then whatever the original X point was will now flip signs. So again, our original X point was -4, 7. So now it's 7 and -4 switch spots, and -4 becomes +4. And then in the next one, Y prime, our original was 0, 8. So we're going to flip the order. It's now 8, 0. And again, the X value would flip signs, but because 0 is the same whether it's positive or negative, we can just leave it. And then Z prime, we have 2, -1. We are going to flip the order of that. So it's now -1, 2. But the 2 is going to become negative because, again, we need to flip the sign. So -1, -2. All right, the next one wants you to try on your own this rotation 90 degrees. So your rule this time, you're going to flip the order and the x value, the new x value, aka the old y value, will get flipped. And then again, you are looking for u prime, v prime, w prime. Right now, we also want to be able to draw our own graph here and rotate these points. So if we look at our original pre-image, we have J, K, and L. And so J was at 2, 0. K was at right 4 up 1 from our origin, and I 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 was right 3 down 4 for point I. Oops, point I. And in our image, again, we're looking for I prime, L prime, apologies, and we need to rotate this 90 degrees around the origin. So again, our rule is we're going to take our original x and y values, flip them, and the new y, or the old y value, aka the new x value, gets negated. So when we take 2 and 0, we are going to flip the order. It's now 0, 2. We would negate 0, but again, negative 0, still 0. And then for k prime, we are switching the order for these. So 4, 1 becomes 1, 4. But again, we have a negative now. So we're flipping that one to be the opposite sign. And then negative 4, 3. Again, we're flipping the sign. This is now positive 4, 3 for I prime. So when we graph these, J is at 0, 2. So 0 left and right, up 2. Here's J prime. K prime is at negative 1, 4. So left 1, up 4 from the origin. And I prime is to the right 4, up 3. And we see our triangle. Okay, now what we notice again is this 90-degree rotation clockwise. So that makes sense. Like if you took your original paper and turned it 90 degrees clockwise, it would look, if you turned your paper to the left, exactly like this one does. So we can actually see, and then we turn our paper right side up, that rotation happening. So our location makes sense. All right, there is one final one on this last page for you to try. Again, you are taking L, M, and N. You are graphing the pre-image points or writing those down. Your rule this time for a rotation 180 is negative x, negative y. And you're going to use that to come up with your image points. Don't forget to graph. Thanks, everyone.